In the search for a cure to Alzheimer's, a breakthrough has been made through the experimentation of apes. Well, not the breakthrough that you was thinking of. This is what you get from trying to capture and experiment on animals, you dang dirty human. This is my uneducated opinion on the movie Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Firstly, the cast is pretty good for the most part, but it is amazing how that there's no main character who is a human. Just that there's so many shots within the movie that are played out, and it's just a bunch of emptiness, and characters are interacting with just no one stood there. They're just talking to ghosts, it seems. It's a very odd choice for the film. Okay, jokes aside, James Franco is in this movie and he plays the main human, Will, who is the one that is looking to create the cure for the Alzheimer's disease. So, effectively, is the main reason why this planet has gone to shit by causing the uprising of smart apes. All this because, in a fit of anger and desperation, he decides that it's okay to steal some drugs and test them for the first time on a human patient, his father, and by then seeing the improvements followed by the quick relapses of the disease, he thinks it's a great idea to then make a much more potent drug to try and subdue the immune system of humans. Great! This gets on to where I think, like a lot of other movies where the main characters are centered around animals or monster movies, the humans are just exposition machines and lack a lot of emotion, or are just not interesting characters in general. Frida Pinto plays the primatologist love interest to the character Will, and I'm sure she's a really good actress, but ultimately I think she just plays a nothing character. She doesn't really do much other than being the love interest of the movie. David Oyelowo, I'm really sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, please do forgive me, and I'm sure is a very good actor just like Frida. He plays a businessman and supervisor to Will, and it just ultimately comes across as wanting money and the business to do well and stock prices to go up. It comes across very generic and annoying a lot of the times. There are other instances where certain characters are played very exaggerated in order to get certain plot points to move forward. For example, the chemist sneezing the virus all over the neighbor. It takes me out of the movie because I start thinking that you must be a really dumb chemist if you think it's perfectly okay to go out after being exposed to a drug in a lab and then subsequently being sick a day or two after. You've certainly got monkey brains there, boy. Brian Cox is in this and is a great actor who does enough in this movie by being this legal blockade in between Caesar and his human home, but please tell me who's the one that decided to give him that red hair? That it's ridiculous, to be honest. But then again, I'm sure Brian Cox doesn't really give a shit. John Lithgow as the father battling Alzheimer's really stands out amongst the human characters. He does an incredible job at showing the difficulties of living with the disease. I loved the bond he had with Caesar throughout the whole movie, acting like the grandfather figure, and also in return Caesar defending John with his built-up loyalty. It's devastating to see John's character get constantly confused at the start, and when the disease starts to emerge again towards the end. He is incredibly good in this movie. Tom Felton I like a lot as the guard of the enclosure, and he's just a complete asshole. He is obviously very good at playing little shits of characters who you just love to hate, obviously coming off the back of Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies. The scene where Tom says,
"Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!"
I get being some sort of reference to the previous movies that came out, but it does feel a little bit forced and out of place in regards to the rest of the movie. I will say though, however, the scene is completely made up for in the incredible it gave me goosebumps, and Andy Serkis as Caesar is fucking incredible. He manages to give us so many emotional scenes with his body language and very few lines of dialogue compared to any other human characters. From Caesar learning about his environments and knowing that he is trapped within the enclosure, to the moments where he is showing so much distress from being left behind, the growth he has from being bullied by the other apes to earning their respect and freeing them while standing up against the humans. I loved all of the mannerisms that Andy Serkis and the other actors did when given the performances of the apes. It made the realism of them seem so convincing. Sometimes I go back and I watch the interviews that Andy Serkis gave when he talks about the research that they did for ape behavior, like how they shown signs of aggression or holding up their palm asking for permission. Stunt coordinator and movement coach Terry Notary is also a huge factor in teaching the other actors on set about the movements of apes. It shows how much effort went into making sure they nailed it when filming. One of the details that I find really fascinating is the decision to make one of the clearly bad apes of the franchise, Koba, a bonobo. For those that don't know, bonobos are extremely sociable animals living in large communities, and aggressive interactions between them are incredibly rare. If there are any tensions in between bonobos, they usually resolve it in sexual activity. There's a lot of sex in them. Bonobos like to bone. They have a matriarchal social structure amongst them, and they evenly distribute the food and resources between each other, so no advantages or uprisings between any of the bonobos happen. So it's really interesting to see that Koba in the movies has had all this natural upbringing completely reversed, and for him to be so vindictive towards the humans and other apes in the future. The CGI in this is nigh on impeccable, seemingly flawless. There's maybe only a couple instances where I'm able to tell that Caesar's swinging or jumping around the environment around him looks ever so slightly floatly, but they of course perfect it in later sequels. But in other scenes, I'm just fucking floored of how well this looks, and I'm convinced that they are using real animals, especially the orangutan Maurice and the other gorillas. They're just animals. Look at them, they're apes. I thought they ended up banning using real apes and monkeys in movies ages ago. But then again, it is really nice to see that my fellow gingers are getting the work out there that they deserve in Hollywood. I'm very proud of them. Along with the CGI looking near perfect, I love how this movie looks from a cinematography point of view. One of my favourite shots is looking down the street and seeing the leaves fall from the trees, and that's because of the apes travelling across them. The cinematographer was Andrew Lesnie, who had previously worked on the likes of the Lord of the Rings franchise, King Kong, and most importantly, and I'm sure he's most proud of, Babe 1 and 2. So the budget of this movie was approximately $93 million, which, that's a crime. Surely they should be locked up for making a movie look this good with the budget that they had. What sort of witchcraft were they performing behind the scenes? And this movie at the worldwide box office grossed just under $482 million. One absolute hit, and I'm so happy that this got the recognition it deserves. I cannot wait to talk about the next movies in the franchise going forward. They are some of my favourite movies of all time. And just like with every other opinion video that I've done so far, let's take a look at the trailer. So the trailer is okay. For me, it does feel a little bit generic, just like other trailers that are coming out recently. Like at the start, it has that very stereotypical deep bass bwam trying to sound really cool and epic. I would say also, even though we know where the story is going, yeah, the apes are gonna come out and take over the fucking planet, it does show a little bit too much about what is going to happen. It doesn't show too much of the human interactions, probably because it isn't that great for the most part. It does show a lot of the really impressive CGI used in it, and I would probably say it is more to do with the word of mouth that got around to people wanting to watch this movie in the first place. Or maybe the nostalgia that people have from the previous movies and them wanting to see what this franchise has to offer going forward. And that's about it. Thank you everybody so much again for watching another opinion video. If you like to give it a like, if you didn't give it a dislike, comment down below what you thought of the movie, what you didn't like. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Give me constructive feedback on what I could do better for next time in the future. Share around with your friends and family if you think they'd enjoy this sort of content. Subscribe, ding the notification bell. I stream on twitch.tv/Rizikins. There I play single player games and sometimes talk about other movies and TV shows that I've watched in the past. I also play with my girlfriend Jem and my good friend Sir Razzie, where we play other co-op games together. Hope to see you there. Thank you everybody so much again for watching, and take care.